saying.
Mhm.
What we want to do is we want to make this sentence align in terms of how much attention it's paying to each part of the story perfectly with what's going to be in the chapter.
Gotcha.
So when you revise the chapter, right, you're sitting there looking at chapter 9, you're saying, oh, you know, this gets most of the attention, this is a little bit at the end. Okay, so first up today we have Kim. Kim, I'd like you to start by producing your MCS, and then we're going to do a little exercise that's going to help you, I guess, target your revisions. So whenever you're ready, let's get started.
Okay, so once upon a time, Ammit was the devourer of souls in the Egyptian underworld. But now she's a myth, and she must reside in the realm, which is a spiritual afterlife for all beings of mythology. It might not be so bad if she had some sort of support structure, but the gods are incredibly cruel to her due to their long-standing prejudice against demons, which Ammit classifies as. So, feeling worthless and purposeless and at her lowest, Ammit meets the mysterious goddess Lamashtu, who claims she wants to help all demons gain respect and equality among the gods, but needs Ammit's help in order to do so. And again, desperate for purpose, Ammit joins her side. It starts off well enough. She makes some demon friends and learns that she is way more powerful than the gods have led her to believe. She learns that her soul-devouring abilities don't just work on mortals, but they work on gods too. Unfortunately, she doesn't see that Lamashtu only wanted to exploit this newfound power until it's way too late. So now, Ammit is desperate to prove to the realm, and more importantly herself, that she is not a monster, and she works to undo the chaos that she helped cause. Using her voice rather than her destructive power, she convinces the gods and demons to fight together against Lamashtu's tyrannical rule. Their fight is successful, Lamashtu is defeated, and more importantly, Ammit discovers her purpose and her self-worth. The end.
Good, great. I mean, a lot, how shall I say? Forceful is the word I want to use, but a lot more intentionality in the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
So good. And it was a minute 30. Come on, fireworks.
Okay,
there we go. A minute 35 seconds. So that's perfect too. Okay, so today we're working on peaks, right? So I'm going to ask Justin this question. Where do you think this, based on Kim's telling, where do you think this story peaks?
I'm trying to think how to word this. I think for me, it comes. The thing is that there's so much weight in the beginning of this that I'm like, I want to figure out a good point like towards the end that like where it really like drives home. But having read most of this book now, I would say it comes somewhere. So, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Kim. I'm trying to like pick a good answer for you. It's definitely within the self-realizations that she has towards the end, but I don't really know exactly where I'm placing it personally.
Let me make a suggestion. I think Kim gave the game away. She made a comment. She interjected a single word, which I think prefaces where the peak of the story is. And if you go back, and this gets posted on YouTube or it's being recorded, look for what she says the word now. And she did this spontaneously, right? And what came after the now? She has to unite all the gods and goddesses and demons to overthrow the Lamashtu. So the peak of the story is putting together the force and overthrowing Lamashtu. And the rest of it is building to that peak. And by paying attention to how you tell your story, you just drop this now in there. I'm not, I could be wrong, but it seems like that introduction to that section of the story is what we're thinking about in terms of the peak.
Mhm.
So, let's back up a step. So does that comport with what you think the peak is, Kim?
I think so. Yeah, I go back and forth between if it's that or if it's when Ammit devours Dionysus's soul, but I don't know if that's so much the peak or if that's the fork in the road where the character has to decide who they are now. But so I go back and forth between those two instances in the novel as far as what the peak is.
Yeah, so this is tough, right? It's the same problem, Jason, I keep doing that. It's the same problem Justin was having, right? We have peak A and peak B. So I'm going to suggest to you, and this is our whole point of today's session, try organizing your story around one peak and then try organizing it around the other peak and see which one is going to make you happier, right? And if you tell the MCS one way and you tell it another way, see which one the audience responds to more enthusiastically. The other way to think about this, and we sort of talked about this with Justin last time, is to try to think about what kind of story you're telling, right? What the genre is. So just like Justin's, this is kind of a self-discovery story on the one hand. She defeats Dionysus and learns that she has this new power. Or alternatively, it's kind of a political rebellion story on the other hand. It's not quite a jailbreak story, but it's a rebellion story. She gets everyone together and they defeat Lamashtu as the peak. I'm pretty sure it's the second one, right? Because discovering she has this power is like discovering the clue in a treasure map or the magical dagger, right? It is the thing that unlocks the final battle, but it's the final battle itself that is the peak. So, this is a good exercise for you to do because it can help you gain confidence and confirm that as the peak in your own mind so that when you're doing revisions, that will be guiding you. Thoughts so far?
I feel like now just that we're talking it out, I do see, and I am like, yeah, peak 2 is definitely what it like the getting everyone together to fight against Lamashtu and Ammit using her voice to do it rather than the power. I feel like that's definitely the peak 2. Like I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. So I'll play around with both, but yeah, I do think I see it now. Just talking it out, I was like, oh, okay, this is making more sense.
That's it, right? You think it out, you talk it out, you bounce it back and forth, and one of them is going to be closer to the vision of the story you're trying to share.
Mhm.
And then that's the one you stick with up until the point that it stops working. Hopefully it won't, right? And then you go back to the drawing board if it does. But I think it's going to work. I have no minimal doubts that this is the story you're trying to tell, because that's what we're hearing. Okay. So instead of doing a chapter, today's exercise was about talking through the novel so that we can guide revisions. So the idea here is, remember, every one of our chapters needs the right amount of story. It needs to have some kind of orientation at the beginning, and then it has to have some kind of continuity that connects it to the end. So Kim, we had our continuity and value delivery spreadsheet exercise. She did that for us. We won't have time to go over the whole thing. I just wanted to go over the plot portions. So I'm going to present her that chunk of her spreadsheet, if I could find it. There it is. So let me just make that one column more clear. And of course, you can't read this. That's a little bit better. So we're going to have a fun little game today. Justin and I are going to take turns reading each of these essential sentences. And then we're just going to stop and ask, is that enough story? One. And then two, does it have continuity with what came before? And then we'll pay attention, right? If you see there's a lack of continuity or not enough story, it means we just have to rejiggle this chapter. So just background, right? Kim has finished her first draft. She's kind of started revising, and then this sheet is going to help her with revisions. And then this exercise is going to be Justin, Kim, and I talking it through, as opposed to Kim just talking it through herself. All right, so any questions on the exercise for today? Good. All right, so Justin, why don't you get started? You read row 1, and then we'll stop, and then I'll read row 2, and we'll see how far we can get.
Okay. Row 1. Ammit attends a meeting to discover new purpose in the realm, but instead is treated cruelly by the gods. On her way home, she meets Lamashtu, who offers to help her gain respect among the gods.
Good. So we tested this first chapter thoroughly, right, using our Ratelli method, and it's passing. Great. The only thing I will say is this doesn't quite capture the first chapter as well as I think the first chapter. It doesn't capture the greatness of your first chapter, right? So remember, Ammit's refusing Lamashtu's offer. Ammit's attending a sort of an Addicts Anonymous meeting. I think adding that little detail will help, but I don't think it's necessary. And obviously, you can't have continuity with the first chapter. So question, Justin, is there enough story for this to make a first chapter? Yay or nay?
Yay. I mean, yay.
All right, I'm going to read number 2, just to give us some... we're not competing because I'll lose, but just to give some variety. Ammit meets Isamu, who tries to persuade her in meeting with Lamashtu by reminding her that she is not respected among the gods. Needing reassurance, Ammit goes to talk to Anubis, but he's too busy to talk to her. Right? So the point of this chapter is Isamu is extending Lamashtu's offer. Isamu is kind of Lamashtu's henchman. And then she tries to go back to Anubis, who ignores her. Continuity, yes. Is there enough material for a chapter? Justin, yes or no?
Yeah.
Good. All right, so you do number 3.
Feeling at her lowest, Ammit goes to the library to read her myth, and dwell on a time she was respected. Ammit finds Isamu and agrees to speak with Lamashtu.
So the question is, what is she learning at the library? And I'm going to guess that is in column 2. He has to stop wallowing. So Ammit gets this self-realization that she wants to be respected by the gods. So this is sort of a goal, I forget what that was called. Goal validation thing. What do you think of this chapter, Justin?
Yeah, it comes back around with this one. This is like the decision to go forward. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Ammit meets with Lamashtu and Pazuzu, Lamashtu's assistant, at Jade Mountain and learns Lamashtu's plan is to free all demons from their chains with Ammit's help. Ammit is still hesitant and leaves. So we're uncovering Lamashtu's plan. Why is Ammit hesitant here? Ammit struggles with risking her position among the gods to help demons. So she's not quite on board yet. So, good enough, right? I mean, Kim's novel is in good shape, which is why we're keep answering the story questions affirmatively. Justin, number 5.
Ammit comes home and is confronted by Anubis and Inyana, She is reprimanded for leaving and accused of stealing a set of communication mirrors. Ammit decides to join Lamashtu's cause.
Okay. So, previous chapter, she balks. She doesn't join the cause. This chapter, she's accused of a crime, and that forces her into joining the cause. The only concern here is whether it's, whether there's enough agency on Ammit's part. So you'll have to make sure that chapter is constructed so it's a choice, right? I don't have to put up with these people. I choose to go with this. And one way to help yourself with that is just to rewrite the sentence for the plot 5 cell so that it has more agency in it. Why don't you do the last one too, Justin?
Ammit communicates with Lamashtu via a mirror given to her by Isamu, as Lamashtu must stay hidden for now. A plan is made to steal the Helm of Hades from the library so Ammit can use it to free demons from their chains and not be seen.
Okay. So comments on this section, Justin?
Yeah, it's definitely enough for a chapter, for sure, with this one.
And it may be too much for a chapter, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot going on in that one, it seems.
So we want to avoid having a dual focus. One alternative is to minimize either one. The other alternative is to split this up into 2 chapters. But the idea is for these sentences to reflect the actual chapter as closely as possible. So in this sentence, they have roughly equal weight. So we want to see if we can rewrite this so one of them has more weight than the other one. Number 7, the heist. Isamu and Ammit steal the Helm of Hades. Good enough, right? Should be a fun chapter. Justin, number 8.
Samu and Ammit use the helm to sneak into Dionysus's club first, as he enslaves the most demons. They free the demons and monsters from their chains.
Good. So advancing the story or not?
Yeah, for sure.
Good. And the continuities, thing I like about Kim's writing, and this shows it amply, is that the continuity is very strong. The events from the previous chapter lead logically to the next chapter. And are things building? That's another question you can ask. Seems like it. Right now, Ammit's committing crimes, right? Which is one step on her road to villainy, or at least assistant villainy. All right, number 9. Ammit continues with her day-to-day, so no one suspects her involvement in freeing the demons. After coming home from another group therapy meeting, so that's, again, continuity with the therapy thread, Ammit is confronted by Anubis, who discovers the mirror she's been using to communicate with Lamashtu. Complicated chapter, right? So let me ask Kim this. What is the key point in this chapter?
So the key point after Ammit, so when they have this meeting, the gods, or especially Dionysus, is just completely lamenting and ranting about the demons being gone, and Ammit is kind of feeling a little good about making them so upset because they always make her feel so upset, and she has been feeling kind of like a hero. And she's proud to know that she's making Lamashtu proud of what she's doing. But then when she comes home and Anubis has found the mirror, it kind of brings her back to feeling like she failed Lamashtu and that she messed everything up. So it's kind of that I'm here, I'm feeling great, and then she smacks back down when she realizes like she royally messed up.
Okay. Good. So the next step is to reduce that to a single sentence. You think you could do that offhand? If not, it's fine. But try to compress that. So there's 3 kind of things feeding into this, right? She feels guilty, maybe 2 things, 2.5 things. And Anubis confronts her. So she starts off proud. She's freed the demons, but there's some kind of consequence to that. So she kind of also feels guilty, and then Anubis confronts her. So you have to sort of figure out, and I think, of course, you can do this, but figure out how those 3 or 2.5 things can mesh into one thing so that we have a clear focus for the chapter. So, Justin, you want to do 10?
Anubis demands to know where Ammit got the mirror, but Ammit refuses to say. When he threatens to turn her into Inanna, Ammit tries to run away, but is caught and imprisoned.
Okay, good. So this is clearly a continuation. So what that might suggest is part of chapter 9 should be transferred into chapter 10. Right? Does Anubis need to be in chapter 9? Maybe not. Maybe he goes in chapter 10. So chapter 10 is its own chapter revolving around Anubis's confrontation, and chapter 9 is its own chapter that revolves around the guilt and the pride that turns into guilt, maybe. Maybe, right.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
So for that number 9, if most of the chapter is kind of her feeling that elation and feeling like that hero, and it's going through that, but then it just ends with her walking in and Anubis just has the mirror, and then that's just how it ends. Could that be a good segue that it's separating the two, or should I have like?
Yeah, it could be.
Okay.
Right. So this exercise only reflects what the chapter has. And the way it does that is by seeing how much attention you're going to be devoting to each part of the story in those words, right? That chapter's words. So the way I'm looking at this, and anyone watching this, is that this thing here is half of this length.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think, and that's throwing us off, and maybe not what you have in mind. What we want to do is we want to make this sentence align in terms of how much attention it's paying to each part of the story perfectly with what's going to be in the chapter.
Gotcha.
So when you revise the chapter, right, you're sitting there looking at chapter 9, you're saying, oh, this gets most of the attention. This is a little bit at the end. So it perfectly maps on to the chapter. And then this one, it's fine, right? Good continuity. Now she's in jail. So chapter 11 picks up in jail. Ammit is thrown in prison. She awaits trial. Anubis and Thoth, so Thoth is a new guy, try to talk to her and tell her to give up the mirror's location, but she refuses. So presumably Lamashtu has the mirror, and she's trying to prevent ratting Lamashtu out. You might want to be more explicit about that so that we know. So this is an interrogation scene, right? She's in a police station. She's getting interrogated. We want to know what she's trying to do. She's trying to protect Lamashtu. And I think having that, I don't know what you want to call it, but having that, I can't even think of a word for it. Can you think of a word for it, Justin? Trying to hide Lamashtu's role in this crime is at the forefront of Ammit's mind, and therefore it would be helpful, I think, for you to put that into your sentence. Number 12, Justin.
The trial is held, during which Inanna uses the mirror and discovers Lamashtu on the other side. Ammit is sentenced to imprisonment for eternity for treason.
All right, so not good. This trial is new. Was this in the last version of the novel?
A little bit. I had a little bit of her being like on trial for working with Lamashtu, but I changed it to make it a bigger scene.
All right, so the trial's a bigger part of the project.
Yeah.
Courtroom scene, uses the mirror. I guess kind of an OJ if the glove doesn't fit kind of thing. It's fine, right? Samu breaks Ammit out of prison. So Samu is working for Lamashtu, right? It's a little bit hard to keep track of the names. But on the other hand, the names have good resonance, right? These are all real Babylonian or similar gods. So Ammit breaks Ammit out of the prison using the helm. Lamashtu and the other demons have arrived and are battling the gods to help free Ammit and the rest of the demons. So we just basically have a big prison break fight scene. Good. Justin, number 14.
Gods and demons battle. Dionysus attacks Ammit, and she devours his soul. Upon seeing this power, the gods surrender, and Lamashtu claims the city.
Good, right? And this is that pre-peak we were talking about. It's Ammit's. The one thing that's missing, obviously, from here is Ammit is learning she has the power to devour Dionysus. She didn't know this beforehand, which is what you mentioned earlier. So that should go in here, first of all. And then second of all, seems like a great chapter, right? We see this battle, we get a shock, 2 shocks, right? She's shocked that she can do this, and then the gods are shocked, so they're like, yeah, get me out of here. All right, good, right? Justin, you want to do 15?
Yeah. Kim, did that change too? Dionysus attacking her and everything like that too? I remember that was like one of the first things that I read from this piece was that whole thing and everything like that. It's interesting how it's developed.
Yeah, originally it was kind of like the gods and demons were meeting to talk terms to release the hostages, and Lamashtu kind of almost ordered Ammit to do it, and she was just so upset that she did. And I just didn't feel like that was fitting with Ammit's character. Like I really, really, really wanted to back her into a corner in order for her to use that power. And I just figured like Dionysus like physically attacking, and then on top of it too, and I didn't put it in this, but like Isamu gets the water knocked out of his head, so he's down, so she's seeing him hurt, and then she's attacked. So just I really wanted to put her into more of a corner in order for her to summon this power, just because she has such a strong moral code that I was like, okay, what would break that? So I just needed to make the stakes higher.
Good,
Cool.
Excellent. You get let me confetti her first, Justin. Oh, I gave you balloons. Okay. I don't know what confetti is. All right.
Okay. 15,
that is
right?
just great, Kim. You had an issue, more creativity, better story, better novel. So we're on 15, Justin.
Demons take control of the city and gods are chained, struggling with her actions. Ammit goes to the library to reread her myth. When she returns, Pazuzu reprimands her for leaving and says she must stay by Lamashtu's side.
Good. So the continuity is the library is sort of her place for self-reflection, I guess. Then we have Pazuzu. We have a situation that is direct consequence of the prison break / battle. Yeah, this is coming along. Very good. 16. I'll do 16. Meaning answers on Lamashtu's true identity. Ammit visits Inanna, who is now in prison. Lamashtu holds a rally declaring the end of gods and the rise of demons. Slight, maybe a sequencing problem here, right? Are these things taking place at the same time? So you just need to sort of figure out what the order of events here. But, now we have, good, right? She's questioning, she sees what's going on. She starts questioning her role in this, and she starts a little investigation. Number 17, Justin.
Lamashtu orders Inanna's soul to be devoured and for the library to be burned, destroying all evidence of the power gods once had. Ammit refuses to devour and runs away to warn Thoth and Anubis, who are at the library. Enraged, Lamashtu reveals her monstrous true form.
So this is good, right? The pivotal point here is Lamashtu reveals her true monstrous form. So think about, I'm not saying this is necessary, but you might put a little bit of thought into how this sentence is organized, right? Because Lamashtu's reveal comes at the end of the chapter. And is that what you want to do? Because I'm reading ahead to chapter 18. Ammit warns Anubis and Thoth of the approaching danger. Lamashtu and her demons storm the library, and the goddess demands that the demons find Ammit or else the library is burned. All right. So, great job overall. I'm going to try to do confetti. Apparently I can't, but I can get balloons. Can't get those either. But we can get lasers. Those are reliable.
All right.
Dude. So, work in progress, right? Still working on the rest. So it's sort of a little bit of less coherence at the very end than there was at the very beginning, which is what we'd expect.
Mhm.
So the next step then is to complete the rest of the chapters and then go back through this and do a little bit of tightening, rethinking, make sure the focus is there for each of these sentences. Continuity is great, right? A very nice progression from one chapter to the next with increasing tension stakes. And then remember, we're trying to make these sentences perfect, as close as we can to perfect mirrors of the chapter we're writing, so then we can revise that chapter according to that sentence. And then I really like, I like how you're thinking about it and making the story better, right? With your thoughts, your inspiration. Thoughts, Justin?
I mean, since I've started reading your story, clearly, like, a lot of things have changed. So I'm interested to see how those changes form. There are a lot of things that I as a reader, I really liked about some of the previous versions too. So I'm kind of clinging to some of them and being like, oh man, I hope that some of these things still ring true. But like at the same time, I'm very much following along with what's going on here. It still rings like the characters are still like they're forming to be even, I would say, even more clear versions of they were before. So I think it's great.
Good, great thought. So what I'm expecting is all of the great things that Justin mentioned are still there, right? And what this is a really high-level overview of the plot to allow those great things to be integrated better into the overall narrative. So I suspect that we're not throwing anything away, right, Kim? I should say, I hope that we're not throwing anything away.
As far as what? As far as what I've done in the past draft, or
Yeah, particular scenes that everyone in the group found particularly appealing.
no, for the most part, everything that they really enjoyed is staying. There's been a few character changes, like characters that have gone and characters that have been introduced, but I don't feel like any of the characters I cut are going to be missed because I didn't feel like they were making much of an impact on anybody, and I scrapped them.
Good, fantastic, right? That's exactly what you should be doing. So first draft is done, great. Now we step back, we think about the broader story, we tighten up the plot, basically. And then, this guy isn't necessary, gone. This guy has been playing a bigger role, so now his role has to be consistently big across the whole novel. All right, fantastic work. So any last thoughts, Kim?
Nope, that was really helpful. And I know no writer is the same, but do you feel like it's usually a common theme for when people are writing that first draft and then they're outlining, they're basically rewriting the whole thing, but feel like they have more vision the second time around? Because I'm like, okay, is it normal to have to completely rewrite this whole sucker? But I'm also, but I know no one's the same. But I also just feel like I have a better idea of how to make the story better. So I'm hoping that I'm like going in the right path, and I'm not just going to continue. Every draft's just going to be a rewrite kind of thing. So
I would put it this way. Writing the first draft is a process of discovery. You're figuring out what the story is. So even though the first draft is completely written, now you have a pretty good idea of what the story is. And now your mind is sort of figuring out how to improve the story in order to prepare you for your next round of revisions. Right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this exercise, this sheet we went through today, is supposed to do. It's supposed to help tighten the story. So the MCS is your story, but it's really tiny, right? This sheet we went through is also your story, and it's a lot longer. So we're using this as sort of a stepping stone to the next set of revisions.
Mm-hmm.
And if we look back, you would not be capable of doing this sheet before you wrote that first draft.
no.
It takes a very experienced, pre-planned, this level of detail is not something that most novelists can't access before they've written their first draft.
Okay.
Maybe some can, maybe some can't, even after writing a first draft, right? But I think you're right on track, right?
Okay.
And you don't have to throw anything away, right? There's good scenes that you've written that will be able to fit right into this updated narrative.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes me feel better. Thanks.
Good. Well, you should feel good. I mean, how did you feel about the story?
I feel really good about it now. Like, I feel like when I was going through the throes of first draft, I was like, do I just write it so it's my first novel that I write and then just be done with it and not even worry about publishing it? But now I'm like,
That's
there
good,
were
right?
some deep conversations about that. But now I'm definitely in the boat of like, no, I want to publish this story. So I just feel better about it in general.
Yeah. That's a nice, I'll just write this and then throw it all away. That's good, right? We want to lower the stakes here. But I don't think you have to do that. Right?
Okay.
I mean, I know you don't have to do that. Make a stronger statement. And then this exercise should show you that the story is there. Well, it was there. Now an even better story is there.
Mhm.
And then finish this up, then we'll revise. And I'd like to go through this exercise for chapters 19 to the conclusion. And in the meantime, you can also tighten up each of these sentences.
Yeah.
All right. Deep breath, and we shall.
Bardsy delivers the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce compelling novels. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise that keeps your writing on track while fueling creativity. Bardsy Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and provides actionable feedback. And our brand new comprehensive character developer that helps you construct unforgettable characters. Come see for yourself at Bardsy.com today. Try our workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite Membership delivers writing groups, personal coaching, and a curated community. With Bardsy, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and, most importantly, your readers.